Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final video about completing your composition dissertation. This is a video that's going to cover putting your score inside of your actual document, submitting your document on time, preparing for your defense, surviving the defense, maybe not surviving the defense, we'll find out, submitting your edits, graduating, and getting the hell out of grad school. We will also talk about at the end some of the hidden challenges of this that I haven't really addressed yet. I've got a whole story to tell at the end of this video that's really kind of juicy, and stick around for the end. So I've got the other videos linked in a playlist below if you need them. Let's get to it. Before you submit your dissertation, you need to fit your actual score into the dissertation document. Now this can be tricky because when you enter the editing stage, likely you're doing a large ensemble piece. You're going to be doing it on, well, in the US we call tabloid paper, which is like bigger than regular paper, bigger than letter size paper, which the document will be in on. Definitely don't try and just switch it automatically to letter size. If you notice, like, this has made my score look super cramped, like all the dynamics are bleeding on top of each other, and it's just not a very sustainable way to do it. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to leave it actually as tabloid, right? You're going to export it just like you normally would. You print it as a PDF as letter sized, and then you're all set. The margins will fit, or at least they did at UM. I think it was like a 1-inch margin. That's like perfect. That's great, because they will jump on you. They will jump on you on every single page if it's not perfect. Trust me, I've been there. Okay, so once you finally get a full draft of this thing done and it's ready to go, and you are 2 weeks away from your defense date, which you should have scheduled, by the way, like turning in the dissertation, you need to schedule that defense like ASAP, as soon as possible, Defenses, that, it sounds intense, right? It sounds like you're entering the courtroom in like Law and Order SVU or something, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's not that bad. Of all the parts of this process, the defense is not the scariest part. To me anyway, I don't know. That could be biased there. I'm much more of a presentation-oriented person than I am a writing person. Some people don't feel comfortable speaking to others. I do this in my free time, so maybe I'm not the best guide for that, but anyway. So you're supposed to make a small presentation that kind of briefly outlines some of the important points of the paper, just kind of like as a refresher. Remember, they have spent the last 2 weeks reading what you have written and having opinions about it and finding things that you've done wrong, and they will. They will find things. You'll read it and you'll be like, hey, that was really dumb. Why did I do that? The real trick about this is that there's no such thing as being ready for it. There's just not. Ready, I think Seth Godin says this, ready is a feeling that never comes. It's just not a thing. You can be as prepared as you can possibly be. You can review everything. You can technically do everything. But it's nothing quite like being in the seat and just being there. So I would just recommend that. Just be there. And just, you're going to do the best you can. At the end of the day, your committee does want you to succeed. Yes, they have to like grill you and make sure that your research and everything is up to snuff. It's also worth remembering that you have kind of already done this. Remember, you had to do a whole proposal, so you had to sit and get grilled a bit and kind of get an idea of what it's like. So the preparation for this is pretty much the same as how you would prepare for a proposal. Obviously, you will reread what you've written, and if you notice anything that, that isn't as like good as it could be, let's say, you can kind of go ahead and head off criticism for that because you're already aware of it. Like, actually, I didn't really make that point very well. I understand where you're coming from. Again, it's kind of the same preparation as that. But just remember that you've already done this. Definitely reread it, review it, and then just be there. If you can, if it's in the morning, I do recommend bringing something like coffee or donuts or something like that, just to lighten the atmosphere. I think that that's a nice touch. It's a little different if it's in the afternoon or evening or something like that. But so likely what will happen is after you go through it, it's usually an hour to 2 hour thing. I guess there's obviously every school does it differently, but then they send you away and then they talk over it and they decide did you pass or not, and then they will say you either did or you didn't, and hopefully you did. And if you do, 90% of us are going to have to do edits where they're like, okay, like this, like for example, one of the criticisms of mine was like, oh, okay, you talk about writing this symphony for wind ensemble, but then you don't really list many of the historical people in terms of writing symphonies for wind ensemble. And I was like, okay, well, it wasn't really the goal of my paper, but I'm happy to just like include that. They're like, yeah, it should make it a little more sound in terms of research. Okay, cool. I will do that. So I added some stuff about those guys and whatever. They just wanted a paragraph and to change a couple of things and update some stuff here and there. Okay, so this last little bit, you know, technically at this point in the thing, you would be done, right? You would do it, and then you just do the edits and submit. But I kind of want to tell you a story because I want to share a little bit more from my experience that may be applicable to you. Obviously, I finished my dissertation, my piece, and my document, and I have to say, like, man, there are lots of things in it that I wish I had done differently and that I think could be better, that it maybe isn't the greatest thing that I have made. In fact, it's definitely not. For sure, it is not. And that is an okay place to end a dissertation thing. It's a huge commitment, and it's okay if it isn't quite the thing that you wanted it to be. The bigger thing is that you're going to be in this process, and you don't really know quite how it's going to go, and it isn't, sometimes it's not going to feel particularly good. What I'm going to share in a second here is a video I took of myself on February 5th. That's like a little more than a month away from me turning in, and I'm just completely honest and candid about how I feel in this. So if you want a snapshot of what was at least going on in my mind, what could be going on in your mind, here it is. Okay, so today's the day I got to see Gonzalo and Cole. We both had lessons today, and today's in the midst of dissertation land. And they're like, you should record yourself, like how it's going, and so you could share it later in a video. And so how I'm doing in the middle of dissertation, it's February 5th. And the answer is not really good, actually. Actually, everything is terrible. This is a really wild thing to be, 120 pages into this thing, realize that you're not halfway through it. And also all of that needs to be like severely edited. Man, I don't feel great right now. Not gonna lie. I am cutting things left and right, and this is rough. Is a rough feeling. I'm gonna try and record, my thoughts as we move forward with this, because this is crazy. I've learned a lot. It is a good, like, overall thing. Like, I'm glad I'm being challenged with this, but yeah, this is horrible. Just every time we turn around, there's another fire to be put out. I was thinking, okay, this semester's gonna come in, and I'm gonna write my dissertation. I'm gonna be very disciplined with everything. It's all fun and games, and I got food poisoning the first 3 days of the term, or technically right before it started. So and I had a couple of things I needed to finish before it. So just, you lose time. So everything is just trying to catch up. And then after that is over and feeling better, I pulled my back like an 85-year-old man for no reason, pulling my back. What in the hell is this? And this is the snapshot. Stuff is crazy. Stuff is, actually nuts. Even teaching, trying to prepare all that, it's just a big wash. It's just a big mess. I feel like I'm in a burning building. I am that meme of the dog in a burning building with the cup of coffee, and it pans out, and it's like, this is fine. That's me. Except for it's not fine. I'm just gonna have my coffee and enjoy the building burning all around me. Now, that being said, this is a tough thing. This is a tough thing to make something on this sort of level of proportion. So anyway, this is my snapshot into where I'm at right now, which is not ideal, not great. We're surviving, but we're not really living. We're surviving. The water's up to here. Yeah, it's great. Sure. I don't know. Jeez. Okay, so I mentioned, life happens in this, right? Like I mentioned, I got food poisoning, which was nuts. That was crazy. And then I pulled my back, which seriously made just so many things more difficult than they needed to be. But there is something that I didn't mention in that video that is worth talking about. One of the things that can make a dissertation year super difficult is that it's usually the last year of your doctoral program. And that means for most of us, you get a doctorate because you want to teach, right? So this means that you would be applying to academic jobs, presumably. I applied to several during the fall, not really thinking much about it. In my view, I was like, no one's going to hire me. I'm just excited to get this DMA, but this is an extremely competitive field, and I only have a little bit of experience. We'll just see what happens. I applied to, I think, about 8 or 9 total, something like that, a couple of schools. First week of January, and I got an email. from a school called St. Mary's College. I was like, hey, we'd like to interview you. Oh, I had applied for that in like November. Oh, well, cool. Now for me, I was like super thrilled. I was like, oh, well, great. Like, I got through the resume round. That's like, in my view, that's the hardest round. Like the resume round, by far, you're just a piece of paper. Oof, that's just, none of your personality really gets to show. For me, I was just excited. I was like, oh, well, cool, I'll do the interview. And then they'll obviously going to pick some other people and move on. And have been a great experience. And so it sounds kind of funny, but I was actually kind of shocked when I got an email like a week later being like, hey, we'd like you to like come and do a teaching demonstration here. What? What do you mean? Me? You know what I mean? I know that sounds silly, but I really didn't think that anyone was going to look at me. I mean, I really was like, who's going to pick at me? So it was a very exciting thing, but then also, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go do a live teaching demonstration. This is like, serious, like second round, really final round consideration for this particular job. It's an amazing opportunity, but it was also in like 2 weeks. I mean, it was literally like, I think my audition day was the 28th of January. I think I got the email on like, I don't know, the 12th or something, whatever. So like 2 weeks. So of course you drop everything, well, I've got to make this, you're going to do a talk on, secondary dominance. Well, by God, I'm going to do one hell of a talk on secondary dominance. I say this in a video about making a dissertation, not to be like, hey, cool, well, look at me. But because like life happens and you can be in the middle of a dissertation and have been doing very well, and then all of a sudden something like this happens where you have to completely pivot, completely shift focus, and then 2 weeks are just gone. And then all of the things that you've had to put off are still there. That was the really hard part, having to like turn around, make some, a good presentation, review it with several different people. I mean, I had so many teachers that helped me, but like when you come back from that, okay, you've got to still, like, I was a TA, right? So all my class, 2 classes that I would, technically 3, I guess, but that I TA'd for are still going on. I still have responsibilities for it. I still have things to grade. I still have lectures to do. I was an adjunct faculty member at a nearby school called Miami-Dade College, where I taught oral skills. Like, that doesn't stop. That most definitely does not stop. And then, the way our degrees at UM, it's a 3 years, so you're still finishing up a couple bits of coursework. So I had, like, conducting class with Maestro Schwartz every week still. Like, okay, I guess we're doing Dumbarton Oaks. Sure, why not? That's great. What a lovely thing to do in the middle of all this. And say nothing in composition workshop, and I did run the SCI chapter down there. So all those concerts happen, the residency's coming up, this concert is happening. I mean, life doesn't stop. And that's kind of like something that you have to keep in mind. And that's why, for me, when I was planning very poorly, I was very greedy and I had no idea how long, this is going to take me way longer than I think it's going to. I built like no slack into my system. It can get really rocked. And that's really the moral of the story, is that you can have all these great plans, but like sometimes things will happen and you need to just give yourself a little more wiggle room, because you never know what's going to pop up and take it. You just never know. Okay, I catch up, I finally get going, and all right, I recover after 2 weeks, but I'm still behind. I mean, you saw the February 5th video. Not doing so hot, not doing so good. That was like the week after I got back from St. Mary's. So we get into March, and then finally getting the piece done, getting the ball rolling, and then the week before it is due, I get a call from St. Mary's. And hey, you're the pick, so we're gonna go with you. Which is like crazy and awesome, but also like, well, what do I do? What is this? And that's an even weirder place to be, because you still have to like continue to work on the dissertation, all the classes and things that I mentioned. And then you also have to negotiate a salary. A salary? I've never had a salary before. What the hell is a salary? I'm used to being like a waiter or like working retail, getting a job before finishing the dissertation. Dude, what? Nuts. But you It adds up. And I remember like I was going to go home for spring break. I was going to be able to get it done, and then realizing like, I can't go home for spring break. I have to be here. I've got to get this damn thing done. And that's what I did. I basically just I finished that thing over the first half of spring break. I felt like Frodo. Frodo in the ring. Sam. Anyway, the other thing that I have to say with this is, again, I want to be as transparent as possible, is that obviously job negotiation, all of that done, getting the dissertation done, the defense, everything. Okay, getting the edits done. But what I found out on the day of deadline was that one committee member had not filled out a certain form. They're supposed to have these particular forms, and I couldn't turn in my dissertation until everyone had signed the form. But the way it worked is, the chair has to sign it, and then this person has to sign it, and so on and so forth. And one person hadn't signed it. And I found out at 12 p.m., and the deadline was that 5 p.m. So it's like, okay, I guess I have to go on a mystic quest and find this teacher on campus and be like, you need to sign this. Why didn't you sign it? But respectfully, sir, but like, will you sign it? But why didn't you sign it? It's crazy. I had to go and find one professor and then go around and find the chair and make sure that he was ready to go with that. And then go find the grad program director, who I've like never even heard of. I went to buildings I'd like never even seen or been to get this thing in. The final deadline was 5 p.m. and all the forms got signed at 4:30 p.m. And that's because I wasn't paying attention to what forms needed to be done. And all this great stuff is going on, and I got a little less focused. Don't be me. Don't do that. That wasn't fun. It worked out. It was fine. But, dude, yeah, it could get really stressful really fast. So just watch out. At the end of the day, this is what I wish I had done. If I didn't have to finish the piece in the same semester that I would write, most of the problems that I had would not have happened, because all that time I was spending finishing the piece wouldn't have been spent towards that. It would have been spent towards writing and polishing. I didn't get to do any polishing, and that's one of my bigger regrets of the whole thing. Give yourself plenty of slack. Finish it the semester before, even if it isn't perfect. Like, I know for me, there's a finished version of my piece, but there's still more that I want to do with it. I really wish I had chosen the resources earlier. That felt very inorganic. I kept having to find things to support what I was saying, which is okay, but I just kind of wish I had already found things that I could write around that would fit into my argument instead of the other way. So I wish I hadn't chosen such a large ensemble. I really wanted to go big. I wrote a wind ensemble. Symphony is basically as the instrumentation of David Maslenka's Fourth Symphony minus the organ, plus an offstage brass quintet. I was doing a spatial effect thing that I was really excited about. I am excited about. But that being said, I kind of wish that I didn't have that element and I could just have written something a little more mainstream and then really focused on that. There's part of me that's kind of I could have just written an orchestra piece because I feel more comfortable in that medium, and I probably would have felt better. So while it was cool to do something that I don't know as well as I don't know wind ensemble as well as I do orchestra, I kind of wish I'd played a little more into my strengths. So rather than I'll use this as an opportunity to do something new. Again, that's a noble thing, but I'd play to your strengths. I wish I had. As long as you're aware of all the deadlines and everything ahead of time walking in, you have a clear bird's eye view of the situation, you're going to be fine. Tons of people write these and get them done, but that's it. That's what I wish I had done differently. That's everything. That's the whole story. That's what happened to me. It may happen to you. It might be similar, might be different. I'm sure there are plenty of other people out there that have crazy stories. If you are someone who, for some reason, watched this, even though you've already finished a dissertation, one, I hope that you're okay. But two, share your story. What happened for you? What was different? What was crazy? What was good? What did I miss? And if you are someone who's thinking about it, what are you writing on? What are you doing? Let me know in the comments. All right, cool. We will see you in the next one. Cheers.